righty, welcome to the Randy Cross podcast. Actually, in its various iterations, this is the 100th of our podcast. I want to thank you so much for joining us and joining us the last 99 times. Also, today's show is going to be a little bit different. No Randy Eats. I know. I've had a lot of practice here during our time down, but we won't have any of that today. Won't have any interviews, but we'll have a couple of pretty good stories and some that are very, very relevant. And we'll start this one off right here. And want to thank for this story the website College Football Talk, the University of Tennessee, and their young quarterback Brian Maurer, who had just the bravery and the guts to come out and say some things that most young 18 to 20-year-olds, they just don't do. And he shared these two posts on Instagram. The first one, he said, on Wednesday, January 22nd, 2020, I plan to take my own life. I thought I lost my battle with depression and that my pain had come to an end as I was going to do it. I looked up and I said, God, if this isn't your plan for me, please send me a sign. Well, next post, he says, 2 minutes later, my mom called me with my baby nephew, Jeremiah, and she said she was just calling to say she loved me. I then knew that by ending my pain, I'd be causing so much more pain for all the people I love. That was an incredible sort of act of coincidence that his mother should call at that exact moment. Or you just may say, maybe there's God's hand in that. Well, Brian Maurer got the help he needed. He is still fighting his fight. But let's remember, May is National Mental Health Month. And we've got to find a way. It's not COVID. It's not quarantine. It's not any of that stuff. It's not like our world's problems went away just because this virus appeared. And in this case, it's a great reminder, and thank you to Brian Maurer and his family and the University of Tennessee family for bringing this story forward and making it something we can look at and we can all learn from. If you're so moved, use that website. If you're so moved, use that phone number, because you're going to need each other through these times. Right now, we need a little sports, or should I say sport. All right, we are into sports. We are back. We've got a sport at least, NASCAR. Last night from Darlington, Fox brought you all that race. They started out in the daylight. They kind of raced it up into the night a little bit. Well, the next few days, you're going to have some night racing going on. It's going to be more Darlington and more Fox Sports. But this was the first really big, well, I'm not, before you start correcting me, I know UHC came back, or UFC came back. Doesn't count. Not one of the big sports. NASCAR is one of the big boys. NASCAR is back. Actually, I had a little golf yesterday too, but they carried their own bag, so you can't call that as professional golf. But when NASCAR ran at Darlington, it was incredible to see what a race is like when it's just the racers and there are no fans. And probably the highlight or controversy of the whole thing, there were some wrecks. Jimmy Johnson flashed from the past, his last year of racing. He actually led some laps till he got into a wreck. My longest lasting memory from that race won't be the winner, won't be the loser, won't be the crashes. It'll be that logo or that sign in the turn that came off during the race. Who'd think that anybody would ever hit a wall or scrape something off a wall, or that kind of speed going by, that you'd have any physics involved that might rip something like that off? Go figure. But NASCAR's back. It'll be back on. I think they've got, half a dozen races in the next 11 days. It's going to be crazy. You're going to get all the NASCAR you can handle. But welcome back. Now let's get into basketball. Let's get into football. Real full-time golf's going to come back here soon. We're going to get her done, and they got it done last night. Thank you, Fox. Thank you, NASCAR.
You better grab your blankie and just squeeze it real tight. These people need to get a real life.
Wow, the ambulance used to be called Butt Hurt, and it was for, people that kind of the Karen in all our lives, the complainers and the over officious types. Well, this is a ambulance a little bit different ilk. This is a little bit based on the Constitution, and we've got so many governors and mayors and people all over the country that have decided to take this time to tell us, the people, we the people, sound like a familiar term? Yeah, it's in that piece of paper. But they're trying to tell us what we can and cannot do. You have to shelter at home. We're going to arrest you if you go to the beach. There's a long list. But there are remedies. There are solutions to this. And it's in that same document, the Declaration of Independence. And when in the course of human events, further down, about another paragraph or so, are some words that I want to highlight, and we should all remember. That whenever any form of government becomes destructive of these ends, it is the right of the people to alter or to abolish it, and to issue new government, laying its foundation on such principles and organizing its powers in such form as to them shall seem most likely to affect their safety and happiness. Otherwise said, it's still our country. We don't work for them. They work for us. Where'd we lose sight of that whole part of the formula? This is a federalist. This is federalism. This is a federal constitutional republic. That's not how it works. Good example of how it shouldn't work. Let's go down this list real quick. We'll start in Michigan with Governor Gretchen Whitmer. No seed sales. You can't travel between if you have two residents in Michigan, you can't travel between them. No travel to vacation rentals, of course. Gun stores are considered non-essential. Abortion clinics are essential. Virginia, with Ralph Northam, has been in the news a lot over the last few years, but he's actually been in quite a bit here, especially relating to the Second Amendment and whatnot there in Virginia. But he's ignored the data that says his response was an overreaction, and he just keeps doubling down and overreacting. California Governor Gavin Newsom, he's issued 32 executive orders since March 4th, 32 of varying types, legislating a lot of stuff that not only did we never know we needed to have legislated, it's unconstitutional. It's pretty simple. You can go, let's see, people who have been arrested can now sit in jail up to a week before seeing a judge, rather than 48 hours, what it currently is. And you can wait up to 30 days for a preliminary hearing, up from what now is usually about 10 days. A lot of different things, but not good. California is not suffering bad from this thing. They're suffering a lot worse from government sort of oppression. Now in Washington, they have a governor by the name of Jay Inslee. And Governor Inslee has decided that there's something that you have to look into. I'm not going to preach at you about this. It's called mandatory contact tracing. Look it up. We're going to show you a few slides here, little information. Who is it that does this contact tracing? Well, you'd sort of expect some of it. Now, Bureau of Licensing, Department of Licensing, look up that one. That's an interesting group. And then how does contact tracing work? Well, it's basically sick, who are they around, who they have contact with, where are you going to do? So you got the whole circle. It's could be looked at as being something a little bit intrusive for the government, but that's not for me to decide. Look it up. Do it yourself. It's worth a look, because right now, civil liberties are being trampled. No other way to put it. And just to finish up, this last slide, the title, Confine at Home. Doesn't sound too bad. You put that together, though, with the contact tracing, that little circle. Now these regulations start kicking in. Now you're not leaving the house. You are confined. They are telling you you are staying there. You're not going to the store. You're not going next door to your friends. You're not doing nothing. You're staying at home. You are confined at home. It's basically house arrest. Oof. Hate that term. All right, let's move on next to some feel-good stories, or a feel-good story.
This is the good news. This is the good news.
All right, for our feel-good story, we go to Douglas Thrawn. And this story, his story, ran at the Twitter site, The Dodo. And The Dodo has all kinds of great stories, usually something animal-based. You can usually find a dog in this. And in this story, the star is a dog. Besides Douglas Thrawn, who adopted the dog, this is, let's see, it's got a hurricane. It's got a beach setting. It was in the Bahamas. They got a little California in there. They got air travel. This is a good dog.
He was in the middle of the worst devastation of the entire hurricane.
Come on, pup.
I still to this day don't know how he possibly survived. I was flying a drone over, filming the destruction to try and bring awareness and aid to the area. I flew the drone over him and could hear off in the distance him barking at it, so I knew there was a dog there. I pinpointed with GPS where he was, and then walked on foot over towards him. I could tell how skinny he was, that he certainly hadn't been eating much for quite some time.
Poor thing, you've been through a lot, haven't you? Let me have a seat with you.
I spent a number of hours with him, and he got more and more used to me being there.
Old pup looked pretty happy now.
One rescue worker was able to put a leash around him and pull him out. Nobody had claimed him, and he was shipped to Florida. I realized that I would really like to have him myself, so I adopted him in Florida. Not until I got to the airport did I realize, hey, wait a second, this dog's probably never been on a leash, definitely never been on a plane. Thankfully, he was a trooper and got him right to California with no problem. He's adjusting quite well. He's quite happy. You can probably see him behind me there. He's an outdoor dog. He doesn't want to sit inside and hang out with everybody. He wants me to be with him, but he wants to be outdoors, which is great for me because I prefer to be sleeping outdoors and outside all the time. I just try to be gentle with him, extra caring, to be able to give him a peaceful place now is the least I can do for the poor guy.
Hey, fantastic. The Dodo, they have the best stories. Like I said, usually involves pets. More often than not, it's about dogs. And Douglas Thrawn got himself a good boy. That was fun to see. All right, I want to remind you how you found this website. randycross.com is the website. This has been a fun podcast to do. You can go to Instagram, you can go to Facebook, you can go to Twitter, you can go to SoundCloud, you can go to growingtruth.com or barnburner.ca. A lot of various places you can catch this thing, but default back, mark it on your browser and your bookmark area, randycross.com for this thing. This is 100 episodes that I've done here as a podcast. I want to thank you for joining me. Look forward to at least 100 more. All right? Instead of happy trails, a theme of the times, how about a little my corona?
Ooh, my little deadly one, my deadly one. Symptoms don't show up for some time. Corona, ooh,